is that whilst it's the self that seeks awakening, whilst it's the self that seeks a way out of its suffering, whilst it's the self that seeks a way out of the problem of self, the problem of me, it is not that which awakens. It doesn't become an awakened self. It doesn't become a more perfect self. It doesn't become a more spiritual self. What happens is that the problem of self stops being a problem. It's not a self-improvement project. What happens is that the concern with self comes to an end. That's the awakening out of the dream of the self. The constant selfing that goes on, in which identity is derived from experience, good experience or bad experience, painful experience or elevated experience. That deriving identity from experience comes to an end, which means that the self is no longer a problem. You stop being a problem unto yourself. So the self-improvement project comes to an end. You stop trying to improve the self. You've awakened out of that. Really, it's awakened consciousness itself that has recognized itself through you. And that creates a fundamental shift in how this mind-body vehicle perceives reality, experiences reality. It's no longer perceiving and experiencing reality from the veil of self, but as awakeness itself. In other words, the veils have been cleared. Now, obviously, there's still a you. There's still something that remains. It doesn't get obliterated. So who you are as the human being with its experience, its own history, its biography, what it's learnt, its skills, its family patterns, its environment, its culture, its age, and so on, its education, all of this is still here. Even the moment that you were born or the moment you were conceived has a certain imprint to it, a certain pattern to it that makes up the uniqueness of you. The uniqueness. So it's like a unique crystal. And that continues. It's just not covered over by layers of veiled perception being the derivation of identity from your experience. Keep on returning to this because it's fundamental to understand, to see the mechanism of how the identity of me, the identity of self, this personhood, is created out of our interpretation of what we experience. Awakened consciousness, liberation, self-realization is free from that identity. It's naked. It's a naked experience. But that doesn't obliterate the human experience. You may still feel loss, or you may still feel hurt, whether it's physical or emotional. But without deriving your identity from that, without creating a story out of that, without having a grievance, yeah? Stories are created out of grievances. And that becomes the tight fist of self, of ego, of me. Without that, then it is simply felt, it is simply experienced, but it doesn't stick. And so what is experienced is a kind of transparency. What is experienced is a kind of permeability. It's as if the boundary between personhood, mind, body, vehicle, and reality, experience, existence becomes finer, becomes transparent, permeable, yeah? Not as solid. In that way, the light of awakeness, the light of true nature, can emanate through you more freely. It's not blocked by the veils of identity, the veils of perception.